G'day. I'm going to skip the fancy intro for this one. You'll learn a little bit about that later. Because this isn't really episode 1. This is more like a seat at the bar before we open the doors. And I want to just sit down, just you and me, and tell you exactly what this show is, why I built it, who it's for, and what's coming. And there's no guests, no co-host, a little bit scary, no run sheet, still extremely dangerous. It's just straight talk. So grab a drink and let's get into it. My name is Alex Watson. I'm a mortgage broker. I run a brokerage here in Brizzy called Funded Finance. I've been in this industry for a while now. The thing that I kept running into with pretty much every client I sit down with is this. The information that they needed to make a good decision wasn't actually that hard to find, but it was just hard to understand. I'm in that boat too, right? And it's not because they weren't smart enough, because the people explaining it, the industry, the banks, the media, made it actually more complicated than what it needed to be. And whether that's intentional or not doesn't matter. The outcome is the same, right? People freeze, they delay, they get analysis paralysis, or they just trust the wrong thing. And that's really frustrated me for a long time. It's what led me here. Now, we need to be clear. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a tax advisor. I'm a mortgage broker. That's my lane. I like to call it my zone of genius, and I am definitely going to stay in it. But what I do understand is people's borrowing capacity, how to assess what that is, how to structure their lending, how to help them figure out what they can actually do right now, not in the future, with what they've got. And that frustrated me for a long time, that I didn't have a way to connect my clients to people who were going to help them as part of that process. And this show, it's what led me here ultimately. This show is for people who are moving, people who already own a home or are very close to it. You can get a little bit aspirational with our content too, here and there. But we're starting to think about what's coming next. We're close to that home and we need to know what's over the hill. So maybe you're sitting on some equity and you're not sure what to do with it. Maybe you're looking at an investment property and you don't know if it's the right move. Maybe you've had a conversation with a mate at a barbecue and, about property and walked away going, I actually just don't know enough about this. You're not alone, and this show is exactly for you. And I'm not trying to turn you into a property investor overnight, right? I'm not here to hype you up. I'm here to give you the map, to show you where you actually stand, what your options are, and what the real levers are in your financial position. And that's the broker's job, the way I see it. To show you that map, to say, here's your equity, here's your borrowing capacity, here's what you could do. Now, what you do with it, that's entirely up to you. This show is pretty much just going to be that conversation, except extended. So what does that show actually look like? There are a few different formats we're working with, right? So essentially, the main format is just me and my co-host, Bindi. Bindi is a part of the team here at Funded Finance. And the cool thing with Bindi is she's just actually brilliant at asking me questions. She's great at that non-broker smart questions that people would actually ask. And she's not here to nod along. She's there to represent you, to push back, to ask why, to not let me get away with half an explanation. And those episodes are essentially the backbone of the show. And I 100% accidentally undersold her role when I sold her on that concept. I'm genuinely hoping she doesn't listen to this. Now we've then got the guest episodes, and I'll be bringing in essentially my team, the team that I put around my clients, people who are genuinely good at what they do, financial planners, buyer's agents, accountants, my team, and other specialists, people I'd actually refer my family to, not just my clients. And because there are things outside my lane, I want you to have access to the right voices for those things. And then there's something we're calling poor decisions. That's the after show, just me and a guest. After the episode wraps, the show after the show, with a whiskey that I've chosen for them, more casual, more honest, a bit more fun. And we'll get diving deep into the things that Bindi wants to know from them. And every episode has a job. Give you one thing you can actually do something with. We've mapped out the first episodes in an absolute deliberate order. And there's a reason for that. The first arc is called Your Home. It's all about your own occupied property, what it means to upgrade, how to think about equity, and how to do it in a way that doesn't actually crush your options moving forward. And so if you've been sitting at home, it just doesn't quite fit anymore, whether it's because you've grown out of it or because the suburb isn't right exactly where you want to be long term, this arc is for you. And then we're going to cover the broker side of things of upgrading with Bindi. We're bringing in a financial planner to cover the stuff outside of my lane, things like the tax implications, the CGT, and all that future planning stuff that we just can't get into. And honestly, that just your broker shouldn't be the one telling you. And then we're going to have a real conversation in Poor Decisions about what people don't talk about when they talk about moving. The second arc is your portfolio, and this is where it gets really interesting, right? There's a conversation I have constantly with clients about borrowing capacity, and it's not what people expect. It's not just how much can I borrow, the age-old question. It's about how your current debt structure actually affects your future borrowing power, about how keeping your first home as a rental, for example, sounds smart but can quietly erode your portfolio and work against you in ways that nobody ever really covers. And we're going to cover that properly with a buyer's agent who I rate. Again, people I would put my family with, not just my clients. And we're going to talk about how to pick an investment property and actually build a broader strategy deliberately, not just grab the first thing that appears in our backyard. And beyond that, we're building a commercial property arc, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, right? We want to get a little bit closer. It's getting exciting. And this is all mapped out. It's not a podcast where we're going to react to everything week to week. I'm exhausted. I'm not going to do that. There'll be stuff that's relevant to the time and place, and we're planning ahead because everything's pretty seasonal and repetitive. But there's a plan for every episode, and it connects and brings it all together. So that's finance, but neat. And I'll be honest with you. I've wanted to do something like this for a while. It's been blatantly obvious to a few people around me. And I talk to people every day who have more money than they think, more options than they realize, and are not as trapped as they might feel. But they've all got less time than they'd like to figure it out. And so this show is my attempt to close that gap, jump into your pocket and get you some information you can pay attention to. And it won't be perfect. Stick with us. We're learning. But I'll be honest, I'll be clear, and it'll actually be useful. And if that sounds like something that you'd want, coming to you in your feed week after week, please hit subscribe. And if you know someone who's been putting off a financial decision because it all just feels a little complicated, send them this. My name's Alex Watson, and this is Finance But Neat. See you in the episodes.